And hello everybody. In this video I'm going to do a playthrough of Waterloo Solitaire, but this time I'm going to play as the Allied Solitaire. So for this I have to click on the red button and I have to choose the red color. And this is the first play I do, a playthrough after I have done a new version of this game. I have uploaded it on the workshop because in the meantime I have corrected an error that was on the French bot sheet, which I noticed the last time, and this is in the meantime corrected. It was on the tough difficulty sheet, which is the one that I'm going to use, because for the Allies they are a bit easier to play than the French. I'm not saying that you always win with the Allies, but if you really want the most challenging game, you have to play on the difficulty tough, but then as the French. But anyway, so for this playthrough I also want to show the other side, because in the previous playthrough I did the French side. And looking at the board, which is representing the battlefield of Waterloo, we have here on our left wing 5 infantry units. Then on our right wing we have 4 infantry units, and of course the Allies, as was historically the case, occupied the farm of Hougoumont and the farm of La Haye-Sainte as strong points. Then we have a small reserve of 3 infantry units, and of course we also have the cavalry consisting of 4 cavalry units. Opposite us we have the French 1st Corps consisting of the 6 infantry units. We have on our right side the French 2nd Corps, and they have 5 infantry units. The French have 2 cavalry corps, the 3rd Cavalry and the 4th Cavalry on our left side. Then in the back they have the reserve, and completely behind we have the Imperial Guard consisting of 3 infantry units. So this is the setup, and for the Allies, like we did for the French side, we have for each of these corps, of each of these formations, we have an activation card. And this is the activation card for the left wing. So this is actually the Dutch, Belgian soldiers that fought for the Allied side in the Battle of Waterloo. And they have the option to defend the left wing by forming a square, which gives them a +2 die roll modifier if they are attacked by the 4th Cavalry. And as you can see here on the attack results table, a plus die roll modifier, so a high number is disadvantages for the French, but is an advantage for the Allied side. So a plus DRM is definitely an advantage for the Allies, which we are doing now. You have another possibility, is to attack the 1st Corps. And if the 1st Corps is destroyed, they can also attack the French reserve. On the right side, the right wing has similar options. Also, they can form a square, having a +2 die roll modifier if attacked by the 3rd Cavalry, which is on their side over here, as we've seen before. And they also have the possibility to attack the French, but in their case it will be the 2nd Corps here on the right side. Then we have a very important formation, which is the cavalry. And the Allied cavalry can do a lot of things. They can choose to attack one of the following. They can attack the 3rd Cavalry, they can attack the 4th Cavalry, and they can also attack the 1st Corps and the 2nd Corps. And important is that they have a +1 die roll modifier if they are attacking the infantry of the 1st Corps or the 2nd Corps. And then they have another option to charge the attacking infantry or cavalry formation that is would be played by the opponent against you. So any infantry or cavalry that is pitched against you will be attacked by the Allied cavalry. Then we have the Allied reserve. They can add up to 2 units from the reserve to either the left wing or the right wing, or they can add 1 unit to both the left wing and the right wing. And then we have the Prussians. As we know, the Battle of Waterloo was mainly a battle between Wellington and Napoleon, but Wellington was hoping to be saved by the Prussians that were coming from Namur, if I'm not mistaken, to the aid of the Allies, and this is representing that. And you can this activation card can be played to try to get Prussian units on the battlefield. And if they have enough Prussian units, so at least 4, they can even attack the first corps. This is here on the left side. They can attack the first corps with a +2 die roll modifier. So a very strong attack if they manage to get sufficient units, Prussian units on the board. And then we have the artillery, the Allied artillery, and they can choose to bombard the first corps or the second corps. And for this there is a 50% chance, as you can see. So they are the likelihood of hitting the opponent for the Allies is slightly less than if you would be playing the French with their Grand Battery, but nevertheless they can do quite some damage. And they themselves are not represented by units, by the way, so they cannot lose units. The only restriction you have is that you only have four cards of them, and after that is finished. So they are actually represented by these gun icons here on the map, but they cannot lose units. And as I already indicated, the number of activation cards you have is indicated here on top of the stack of cards. So we have 7 for the Prussians, 3 for the reserve, 3 for the cavalry, 4 for the right wing, 4 for the left wing, and then 3 for Wellington. This is the last activation card that I didn't discuss yet, but similar as Napoleon, Wellington can activate any infantry or cavalry corps that has no available activation cards but still has units on the board. And mind you that this card, like Napoleon, cannot activate the artillery. So the artillery is limited to 4 activation cards and then it's finished. Another option that Wellington has, contrary to Napoleon, is that he can also choose to ignore 1 unit hit during the turn. So how can the Allies win? This is given an overview on the player aid. So we have there the victory conditions for the Allied Solitaire, and the Allied player can win if the left wing and right wing still have units remaining on the board at the end of turn 18, because as you can see we will be going through the battle in several turns, and the last one is turn 18. So if the Allies can at the end of turn 18 manage to still have units, even if it's only 1 in the left wing and on the right wing, then the Allies win. Another possibility to win is if the Allied player at the end of any turn manages to eliminate all units in the French First Corps and the French Second Corps. So he really has to eliminate all units from both corps here on the front. And then the last condition is actually a lose condition. The Allied player loses the game at the end of any turn when the victory conditions of 2 has not been met. So when the First Corps and Second Corps are not destroyed, and all the units, including reinforcements from the reserve of the left wing or the right wing, are destroyed. So we cannot have our right wing all the units destroyed or our left wing all the units destroyed, otherwise we lose. And these victory conditions especially the win conditions, give you actually a basic choice of between two strategies or tactics, if you want. The first one is to hold out as long as possible, and is actually a more defensive strategy you're going for. If you go for the second option, that is more of an offensive strategy that you will be applying. And this is also a bit reflected in the activation cards. Like the first option that the left wing has, for instance, to defend the left wing, is more part of the defensive strategy, while attacking the first core is more part of an offensive strategy. So, and this you can find a bit on all of these cards, like also the cavalry. Choosing to attack is more an offensive strategy, while charging any attacking infantry or cavalry formation is more a defensive strategy. And so you can find this also a bit reflected on these activation cards. Okay, the turn sequence is over here. It consists of 6 steps for the solitary play. So the player chooses an activation card and an action, and the second step is to roll 1 die to determine the bot action, so the French opponent action. So the French opponent is then in step 3 applied, his action is applied first. It's always applied first. And in step 4 you have to play your selected action card or activation card, but your selected action, and you have to take into account any bot action effects. And then the 5th step is to mark the played activation card with a disc, and for this you have 2 of them available. And why is this? Because in the general game rules you can also see it depicted on the third bullet. You cannot use the same activation card twice in a row, and this is actually indicated by putting this card marker on the card, that activation card you just played. And then the last step is to move the turn marker and begin a new turn. So we have seen that there are 18 turns over here, and we can move the marker by clicking here on the +1, and then we will see the turn change to 2. One thing to note is that there is one important rule considering the reserve, and it's also depicted here on the second bullet. A player formation once destroyed may never be reassembled, and reinforcements cannot be added back into it. So if we know that if we lose all these units, we lose the battle on the right side, for instance, and the French are attacking, and for instance we only have 1 unit left, imagine that, and we are going to choose the reserve to reinforce this right side, but before we can reinforce, the French manage to eliminate that one, we lose the game. We are simply too late. Even if we were planning to reinforce the right wing, we are simply too late. And this is also covered in the manual. As you can see here, there is also a solitary part described on page 39. So 39, we go to that part here. So was 38 actually. This is the solitary play, and here we can specifically written it. Any formation that has all of its units on the game board removed is considered destroyed. This can affect the play of actions and can matter for victory purposes of certain formations, but a player formation once destroyed may never be reassembled, and the reinforcements cannot be added back into it even when the player formation was going to be reinforced during the same turn. You are simply too late. So that means that you have to take into account that you have to anticipate any losses, and you cannot wait until your whole right flank or your left flank is destroyed before you move in your reserve. So you have to look a bit, you have to be a bit anticipating for events to come. Okay, having said this, I'm going to start the playthrough, and my strategy will be, because this is one of the, I would say, more exciting plays, I would say, is to apply an offensive strategy. But if I would notice that we are not getting very far with this strategy, I can always turn back to a more defensive strategy. So we will see how everything plays out. So I selected the tough difficulty, as you can see on the top right corner. Of course, you can always select another difficulty like veteran, which is in between, and the easiest one is challenge, like you can see here, but I'm going for the tough veteran difficulty. Okay, so what can we do if we want to go for the more offensive strategy? We could do immediately a cavalry charge on the enemy's right flank, second corps, and therefore we will play this activation card, and this activation card, if attacking the second corps, will have a +1 die roll modifier advantage. So this is good to know. So this is our activation card we chose, and the action is to attack the second corps. And now we have to roll for the opponent action. So here we go. We click on the blue roll button and we get a 2. And the 2 means that the first corps is activated by the French, and if La Haye-Sainte is Allied controlled, they will attack La Haye-Sainte, and La Haye-Sainte is indeed Allied controlled. So the first corps will now roll to attack La Haye-Sainte. There they go. And they roll a 1. And a 1 means that they have 2 hits for the Allies. But as there is only 1 unit over there, that means that they have managed to take La Haye-Sainte. So that's already a very good start for the French. Now it's our turn. We will do a cavalry charge with 4 cavalry units over here onto the second corps. And for this we also have to roll. We can roll by clicking on the blue button. We can also do a manual roll. And there it goes. It's a 2. That's not so good, but fortunately we have the +1 die roll modifier, so actually this is a 3, and this means that we have 1 hit French and 1 hit Allied. And that means that 1 French infantry unit is being lost, and we lost 1 Allied cavalry unit. And now, as stated on the solitaire sequence of play, step 5, we have to mark the plate activation card with the disc, which was the Allied cavalry. So we remember that we cannot use this activation card on the next turn, and then we go to the next turn, which is turn number 2. You can also see that by the pawn, which is automatically moved. And we can now choose another. First we have to remove the previously played card, of course. And now we're going to select another activation card, maybe the Prussians. Let's try to get the Prussians on the battlefield. So this is our action that we select, and we can only have the option to select the first option because we don't have yet 4 Prussian units on the board. So this is our choice. And now we're going to roll for the French opponent. And he has a 4. And that's the Imperial Guard. This is very early in the battle that the Imperial Guard, French Imperial Guard is committed. And they will attack the Prussians if they have 4 or more units on the board, which is not the case. Otherwise attack allied left or right wing that has the fewest units. And the fewest units at the moment is on our right wing, because we have 4 there, and on the left we have 5. So they will attack, the French Guard will attack our right wing. Okay, for this we roll with a die, and we have a 6. And that was a very bad attack of the French Guards, because with a 6 there are 2 French hits. And that means that 2 French units are lost due to this attack. And this is very good news for us. And now it's our turn. So we have to roll now. We can click on the blue button. For the arrival of the Prussians. And we have a 2. And the roll over 2 means adding 2 Prussian units on the battlefield, and we have to pick them from the green bag and put them on one of these green fields over here on the left flank. So now they are starting to threaten the first corps of the French.
Horses, but whose? The French or the Prussians?
I think it's Grouchy's blue, sir.
It's what we feared, sir. Grouchy has come across.
Damn it, it could be Prussian black. Hey, your eyes are young. You tell me the color.
I think they're
Prussians. That's not necessary, that's not necessary, it's the Prussians. But as far as you and I are concerned, and the army, they're on the moon. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
And it's really are the Prussians. It's not Grouchy who's coming back. So we have to mark, of course, that we played the Prussians and then go to the next turn, which is turn number 3. Okay. Next choice. We could do another attack on the second corps by firing with the artillery. We will fire, so we select the artillery activation card, and our action that we select is to fire at the second corps. Okay, again we roll for the opponent, the French opponent action, which is a 2 again, which is first corps. So La Haye-Sainte is no longer Allied controlled, and so the first corps will now attack the Allied left wing. Okay, so for that we have to roll, and they have a 6 again. Oh, they are very unlucky. That means that again we have 2 hits for the French. A completely failed attack by the French on the Allied left wing, which historically was under the command of the Prince of Orange, which is also depicted here on the activation card. As you can see, it's not typical British line infantry. Okay, and now it's our turn. We have to roll for the artillery, and we roll a 6. And for that we don't use the attack results table, but we use the results table that is on the activation card, and a 4 to 6 roll has no effect. So no hit from the Allied artillery. Okay, and now we have to move the marker on the artillery, which cannot be used on our next turn, and we go to the next turn, turn number 4. As you can see, it's a very easy game to play, and most of the games I play in less than 3/4 of an hour, I would say. Okay, next action. We are doing quite good here on the left flank, so maybe we can threaten them a bit more by again playing a Prussian activation card. Okay, but first we have to roll for the action of the French opponent. Again a 2. The first corps is again going to attack the Allied left wing because La Haye-Sainte is no longer Allied controlled. So hopefully for them they will have more luck than last time. And they have a 1, and that's a very good roll for the French. And as you can see, now we have 2 Allied hits, and that means that our left wing loses 2 units, 2 infantry units, due to the attack of the French First Corps. So actually they have recuperated a bit from their last disastrous attack. But okay, now we roll for the Prussians. It's our turn now, and this is a 1. See here, and again we add 2 Prussian units on the board. There we go. And now we are really threatening their left flank. Oh, our left flank, their right flank. Okay, we have to mark that we played the Prussian activation card and go to the next turn. What can we do now? We can do another attack on the French Second Corps. We are very aggressive. We can do that with the cavalry again, but this time supported. So we will do a combined arms tactics, and we have 3 of them available, as you can see on the bottom. For this we have to designate 1 primary and 1 supporting formation to attack a single enemy formation, and then we get the +1 die roll modifier advantage. So the primary formation can only be an infantry or cavalry formation, so we have a cavalry formation in our case here. And the supporting formation can be infantry, cavalry or artillery. So we can use the artillery to support us, or we can use the left wing or the right wing, depending on who we are going to attack, because also it's written here that the primary formation will attack and take the hits, while both formations will expend an activation card. But the 2 formations must be of different unit types, so and they must be able to target the same enemy formation. So if we are going to attack the Second Corps here, then the cavalry can do that. It's on their activation card, so we have to take another supporting unit from a different type, which could be the right wing, because they can also attack the Second Corps, or the artillery. And mind you, the artillery can never be the primary formation, because they have no units. I'm going to choose to use the infantry as support. So when this combined attack is indicated by using these combined arms tactics markers, indicating that this is the primary and the other one is the secondary formation. And now in total we have a +1 die roll modifier because we are attacking the Second Corps with our cavalry, and another +1 die roll modifier because we are using the combined arms tactics. And as we can see here on the general gameplay rules, the last bullet, the DRM is cumulative but can never be higher than +2 for the Allies and -2 for the French. So in our case we have a accumulation of both die roll modifiers up to +2 advantage. The +1 and the +1 over here. So we have a +2 advantage attacking the second corps with this choice. But first, as indicated on the sequence of play, we have to roll a die to determine the opponent pot action. And this is a 5. And let's see what that is. That is the 3rd Cavalry charge. The 3rd Cavalry Corps will attack the Allied right wing at a -1 die roll modifier. Okay, so the 3rd Cavalry is over here on the right, on our right side, and they will attack the right wing with a -1 die roll modifier. There we go. We roll for the attack. And the roll of 4, -1 is 3. And that means there is 1 hit French and 1 hit Allied. So here we have our Allied casualty. And because it was the 3rd Cavalry that attacked, they also lose 1 cavalry unit. And now we're doing our combined attack. For this we are going to roll our combined attack on the second corps. We have a 3, but because of the plus DRM we get a +2 DRM, so we have a 5, and that means that we have 1 French hit. So again, another French infantry unit is destroyed by this combined attack. And this ends the turn. You can also click on the flip button to flip both activation cards. We discard them. Then we have to mark both cards that we have played. So we played the cavalry and the right wing. And these cannot no longer be played on the next turn. And then we have to move the turn marker to turn number 6. And now we see here that we are getting a bit low on units, so maybe we can increase the units on our left flank, I would say, because we cannot afford to lose one of our flanks. So I'm going to play the reserve card, and I'm going to put, I would say, 2 units on our left flank to get them back to full strength. Okay, let's do that first. So this is our action that we have selected, but now we first have to roll for the opponent. So this is the routine that we already know. In the meantime, we have a 4. A 4 is again the Imperial Guard. They will attack the Prussians if they have 4 or more units on the board, and the Prussians are on the board with indeed 4 units. So now the Prussians will attack. I mean, not the Prussians, the Imperial Guard will attack the Prussians. We only have 1 unit left. Is there a die roll modifier? No. Okay, so we roll for the Imperial Guard, and they have a 5. Oh, that's not good for them. A 5, that means that they have 1 hit French, so they lose their last Imperial Guard unit. And that was not good for them. And now we are going to activate our reserve and going to put 2 units on our left flank. And here we go. Now we played the reserve, we mark it, and we go to the next turn. Turn number 7 already. So we're doing not too bad, we're doing quite good. Because we are here with these 4 units, it would be good if we could now activate the Prussians to attack the first corps, because they have a +2 die roll modifier. But first we have to roll for the opponent, and the opponent rolls a 5. See here, and that's again a 3rd cavalry charge on the Allied right wing with a -1 die roll modifier. So again, they are attacking, they have a 6, -1 die roll modifier is a 5. Oh, they are very unlucky. This is one hit of the French, so the 3rd Cavalry loses 1 unit. And that ends the French round. And now we're going to attack the 1st Corps with a +2 die roll modifier. And we have a 6, so we didn't even need it. Because now we have an 8, so we have 6 or more. So we have 2 French units that are destroyed. And with this play we're getting closer to our objective of our winning objective or victory objective to destroy both the 1st Corps and the 2nd Corps. So we played the Prussians and we go to the next turn. So now I'm going to use maybe our artillery to fire on the 2nd Corps again. And hopefully we do better than previous time, but first we have to roll for the opponent, French opponent. They have a 3 now, 2nd Corps. If Hougoumont is Allied controlled, attack Hougoumont, so they will attack Hougoumont because this one is still Allied controlled. There they go, they have a 4. And the 4 means 1 hit French and 1 hit Allied. That means that they have captured Hougoumont. But they have to pay for it with 1 French infantry loss. Okay, and now we are firing at the 2nd Corps. We're doing a roll. And we have a 3. And that's a good one. With the 3 we have a hit. So another French infantry unit is destroyed by the Allied artillery. And that ends the turn. And we go to turn number 9. So we're doing quite good, I must say. So let's see, we could yeah, maybe again play the Prussian attack. Okay, Prussians arrive. Now we roll for the opponent, the 3. 2nd Corps again, they have already captured Hougoumont, so now they will attack the Allied right wing. And they have a 1, and that's very good for them. That means we have 2 Allied hits. Oh. We're down to 1 unit. And here maybe I should have anticipated earlier to reinforce that flank. But okay, we're now going to attack the 1st Corps. By rolling the die. We have a +2 die roll modifier. We have a 4, +2 is 6. And this means that we have 2 hits French. So that means that the 1st Corps is now completely destroyed. So that's a very good result. But we could still lose if we are not careful. And now we will have to play the reserve card to add our remaining unit to our right wing. But first we have to roll for the French opponent, the 3. 2nd Corps again. 2nd Corps is going to attack the Allied right wing with their remaining unit. So this could be decisive. And they roll a 3. They roll a 3. That means that there is 1 hit French and 1 hit Allied. So they lose their last unit. And we lose our last unit. So let's look at the victory conditions. So the third condition says that the allied player loses the game at the end of any turn when the victory condition of 2 has not been met. But we have achieved the victory condition of 2 because the allied player, we have eliminated all units in the French first corps and in the French second corps. So that means that the lose condition is not valid and we still win, although it was very, very close. We almost lost because we were too late reinforcing our right flank, our right wing actually. So this ends the Allied playthrough and also demonstrates how the game mechanics works using the combined arm tactics, also using the different activation cards. Only one card that I wasn't able to show yet was Wellington, when one of the cards would have been completely played and you still have units available. But okay, that's maybe for another playthrough. So with this playthrough I want at turn number 10, but it was very close. I hope I didn't make any mistake. If I would have made any mistake, you can always leave a comment. Thank you for watching. See you the next time. Bye bye for now.